Hi guys, and welcome back to Big Data for Engineering. In today's lab, we go into talk about the AWS machine learning and AI services stack. So, what are the services available on AWS for machine learning and AI? For AI, they already have a lot of built-in model and function that allow us to use all of these model like out of the box, like an API endpoint, and just use that to apply on our datasets and just do the prediction without us to have to like retraining any of the model. For example, if you want to do some image classification or object detection, here is the services that Amazon have on computer vision, the Amazon Rekognition here. If you want to deal with some text classification, then Amazon Comprehense will cover that. They include also some more advanced model like topic modeling or name entity recognition in here as well. Other than that, if you want to build an AI chatbot, then Amazon Lex should be the one that you play around with, or forecasting with Amazon Forecast here. So if you don't want to use these out-of-the-box services, you have the ability to train your own model from scratch using the Amazon SageMaker, which is now bundled all together in the SageMaker Studio IDE. So this is just a IDE built on top of the Jupyter Lab IDE. So they including all of the function going from labeling the data, moving on to doing some data cleaning and preparation, moving on to visualization in Jupyter Notebook, choosing an algorithm, train the model, do some parameter tunings, then going to wrap all of that in a pipeline for really convenient CI/CD and ML ops activity. This model can be used with TensorFlow, PyTorch, MSNet, scikit-learn, Keras, or some of the famous model machine learning libraries here. Okay, so that's just a quick introduction on the AWS machine learning and AI stack. If you want to learn on all of this, I would recommend you to take a look at this book here, Data Science on AWS. It's really good because it's come with the full code repo that get you started on all of these services. Now they do have a really good workshop, like a short version of all of this. Just introduce the basic step in Amazon SageMaker Studio. The workshop should be about 4 hours long, and they release the video on YouTube as well. So if you go on YouTube and search for data science on AWS, you will see the full workshop. It's 4 hours without the training time, so keep that in mind. If you do that, it might take longer. Also, one more note, since AWS Educate account limit us from abusing their service, so they do not allow us to do the training, the model training. So if you follow their quick start workshop, you can just follow up until step number 6 here. It will fail at step 7 where you're trying to create the pipeline, and step 8 where you evaluate the model accuracy. I still think it's good if you still want to use the AWS Educate account just to follow the first 6 steps here to understand all of the data ingestion going from S3 to the packet clue Athena, similar to the way that we did in previous tutorial. And also they have a really good on introduction on the feature store of AWS SageMaker as well. So I still recommend you, if you have time, follow their workshop and follow up until this point. If you want to do the pipeline as well, then you have to do it on your own AWS account, unfortunately, not on the Educate account. Well, yeah, they did speak English better than me. That's why I think it's better you watch the video instead of listen to me repeating whatever they said on there. So because of that, today I'm going to focus in introducing you to the other services of the AI services. also from this level, but we're going to focus on how to use the Amazon Rekognition and Amazon Comprehend on two different problems, just so that you understand what these are about. One is about object detection, which is just face detection with Amazon Rekognition here. And the second problem is about using text classification on just customer review on Amazon. And we go into train our own custom model on Amazon Comprehend as well. The training will take about 2 hours. And no, I won't sit here for 2 hours just to wait for it to finish. I will cut the video. And also, please note that if you're doing this, it's going to cost you about more than $10, let's say like that. That is why you should do this on AWS Educate account. I don't want to kill your budget on this. Okay, so just log into AWS Educate, get in here, and you should use this one. I'm going to use this one because I kind of use this one for a lot of other stuff as well. So I'm just starting a new environment here. Okay, just go to my class here and go into AWS console. Okay, have another AWS account login, so just log out and then going back in. Now, first of all, to start with that, we're going to need a custom IAM role. Sorry for my English. I cannot pronounce the R in either Vietnamese or English. So it's not English problem, it's my language problem. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a custom home for AWS SageMaker. So just create new one here. And then you're going to need the SageMaker. Just click on SageMaker, SageMaker execution. Just skip this thing and just give it a name such as my SageMaker execution home like this. And hit create. Okay, so now you should see the new home coming in. This one. Just click on that because we're going to need to attach more policy to it. So currently this IAM role can only access SageMaker, is have SageMaker full asset, but we're going to need more than that. So we need to allow that to, let's just take administrator access, doesn't hurt. We need S3 because we need to query data from S3. We might need Athena for some of that. If you go into do the quick start workshop, then you need Athena definitely. What else do we need? We need the IAM full access because we going to need to be able to create new home from the notebook. Okay, what else do we need? I'm trying to remember here. Okay, we need comprehend, of course, because we going to use comprehend for that. And yeah, let's just attach a couple more later. So basically, these are all we need. Just attach policy here. Okay, that's all. Now moving on, let's go to SageMaker. And we're going to create a new SageMaker Studio. Here, please select the IAM role that you just created and just click submit. Don't worry about this. So some of them saying about us have limitation. These are because I'm clicking twice. I'm really impatient. Now we need to wait until it's up and running. So while waiting, just talking random shit again. When I first started to get who is industry experience on SageMaker, they did not have the SageMaker Studio. So what we have back then is just the notebook here. So every single time I have to create a new notebook instance, and then all of the training shop will go into the training here. We have to go into the training shop to view all of that. So now I think SageMaker Studio is really good for us because they kind of make everything all together. So you can view all of the pipeline, all of the features inside there. Okay, so I edited out the part where we have to wait for that. So now you see that the studio is up and running and we have the user here. Let's just open the studio. Now we have to wait again for the studio to be up and running, the Jupyter server to be exact. Okay, I cut out the part where we have to wait again. Now let's just start it by cloning the data science on AWS repo on here. So just open a new terminal. You can select the new terminal here, or you can just go to File here and New and just select the terminal. And we just going to need the clone here. It's going to take a while for everything. Yeah, I guess I'm just being really impatient. I'm normally really impatient anyway. So instead of waiting for the terminal to be up and running, just to clone the Git here, I just using the Git function of the SageMaker Studio to clone it instead. Okay, let's get started. We will start with the notebook in the first folder here, the O'Reilly book folder. So this is just to help us to set up some dependency as well as help us with, for example, in the first one, we just go into set up all of the Python libraries that we're going to use for the whole workshop, the 8-hour workshop. Some of these are not really needed. For example, we won't touch on PyTorch or TensorFlow or BERT here, but I'm too lazy to filter them out, so let's just run them all. If you don't see the kernel here, so please select the Python 3 data science kernel. If you don't see the compute instance here, just select the first one. I think we can only select the first one anyway. Okay, yep, I'm doing a lot of lazy things. So I'm just going to restart and run on this one. So just to explain, they go into check on the pip list here, and then they go into install some of the package we're going to need, such as the portal tree, which is the one that we use to import files. I already introduced in previous tutorial. They need a specific version of SageMaker. PyTorch, TensorFlow are two famous deep learning library. Hugging Face Transformer allow us to deal with BERT here. BERT here is just a very famous pre-trained model on text. So a lot of text NLP problems are dealing with BERT. Then toss Pi antenna to help us to work with antenna, Amazon antenna using Python. Then we have Redshift here, just the database, AWS data wrangler, step function. So Matplotlib and Seaborn are for visualization. These guys are just different services of AWS that some of the notebooks that they have will work with. Basically, what we really need for this tutorial is just the bottle here. But anyway, let's just get them running. I do love one thing that they included, which means just the function here to release the resources. So normally once you close a notebook, the kernel will not close and it still hog up the resources on the Jupyter server. Then you have to manually right click and shut down the kernel here. But they do include the code at the end of every single notebook they have to remove them, which is really nice. Okay, so that's the end. You see here the kernel already shut down automatically for us. Just close this one. We go into skip number 2. It's going to fail on this AWS Educate account anyway. But yeah, let's skip that. Go to the number 3 here where we create the S3 buckets that we going to use to save the data as well as going to read the data from. So basically they just call the portal here and yep, just restart in Hono. So they just call the portal SageMaker section, then go into get the S3, and they create the SageMaker Studio and SageMaker US is one bucket here. And just double check on that. After that, it just close the kernel. Okay, let's move on to the last one. So this one, in case that we miss some of the IAM before, well, first you need to have the SageMaker Notebook instance execution role contain the IAM full access so that you can use the code to create, not create, attach more policy to that uh, SageMaker execution role. So here the list of the policy that they really need. So we already have administrator access before, we have SageMaker full access before, we have the IAM full access, of course, otherwise we cannot run this thing. We do have the S3 and Comprehense. Some of the other things that they going to need is on Redshift. We're actually not touching Redshift here. Or easy to container registry, which we really don't touch, but let's just run the whole things. Okay, that's good. We get into the end and the kernel is closed. Now let's move on to the use case, the second folder here. So we first go into the setup. So what is the setup here going to do? It's just going to upload the sample image and video. I'm going to go cell by cell so that I can explain better. So this, they just go into call SageMaker and then they go into use AWS command line interface. That's why we install the AWS command line interface in the cluster in the previous notebook where we do the setup. And then we use the function here to recursively put all of the image in the media here, all of the content here into the bucket that we created and store the variable from previous notebook. So we upload this image and also video there. And we'll also try to check the content that we uploaded by using the list function here. And that's it. Just shut down the kernel. Now let's work with Amazon Rekognition first. So Amazon Rekognition allows us to have a lot of different computer vision API. In today, we just going to deal with a very simple API, the celebrity recognition API in Amazon Rekognition. So this helps us to identify well-known people in video and image library. As usual, we import Portal here. We import the Python image library so that we can read the image that we have in the folder here. Then we go into use SageMaker and Portal as usual, just to read the image in. We create a temporary folder to get the data in. Now let's get the first one, just the rent-to PNG here. Let's display the image. Yeah, I don't know who this guy also, but assume he's a celebrity. Now let's use Amazon Rekognition to try to recognize if there's a celebrity in there. Okay, now let's review the outcome. Okay, it's detect the name here, Jeremy Clarkson. Well, obviously Amazon know about this celebrity. I don't know about them. Okay, so they also have the landmark here if you read all of this. So the position of the eyes, nose, mouth here, and all of other feature, including the pose, which mean like the eye hole position, or some of the quality of the image, and also information on the API code here, which is really good for us to know all of this information just from the API code. Now let's try to show the image with the bounding box because this is an face recognition problem. So we just have the function to try to draw the box from the results of the API call. Okay, this is going to take a little bit just because of the drawing here. You see it can draw the box around the lemma of the face, and it have the name of the celebrity here. The text is a little bit small. You can update it in the function. Now let's try the same thing, but on the video instead. So we call in the video in here. You can display it inside here as well if you want to display it. Now let's just call the recognition job. It's going to take a little bit. Now let's display. Okay, so we have the information. This is a video. The type is MOV, QuickTime MOV, frame rate here, and then the dimension of the video, timestamp. Okay, so this is when they detect the celebrity appeared. This is the timestamp, confidence level, and then they detect the same guy again at different timestamp here. Again at different timestamp. Obviously, like only he appear in the video, but like he appear multiple times. That's why it's going to show a lot of occurrence where he's appear in the video. Then we can just do a sum up. Oh, okay. Actually, there's another guys. I'm just cannot see. Okay, this one here. Yeah, Richard Hammond. Now let's try with a non-celebrity. So in here we got the image of two people, but it's only detect this girl as unrecognized face, which means like we don't have any information on these two people here. So of course the uh, recognition is still not good enough. That's why we still need to do our custom pre-trained model if we do want like more specific model that tailor to our need. But it's really good if you already have a model trained on a big data set, like all of the celebrity, including the one that we might have not heard before. Okay, let's just setting down this one and moving on to the next example. So this one we still using the Amazon recognition, but we using another API on that, which is the content moderation API. So the content moderation API is helping us to filter out the image with potentially like harmful content like violent or maybe nudity or some content that we don't want to include in our app. So similar, I just import SageMaker and Portal, and let's try to display the image first. Okay, so in this image, we have a lot of gun here. So this obviously is some content that we might not want to show to the children. So we can have the content moderation API function to filter this out. So if we call the API on that, we can see that, okay, it's detecting violence, weapon and violence with pretty high confidence score here. We do the same thing on video. Okay, so this video is just a grenade. Now let's call the API on that one. Let's see the outcome of that. Okay, the job status is success. The type is video here. We see a lot of violence, weapon, violence and weapon tag with, with really high confidence score as well. Now let's try to display the list of all of that. So therefore, time violence will appear in the tag in the video. Well, it's obviously just one grenade, but it's got tagged multiple times. We can display that in the HTML so that we can view it better as well. Or you can display it in the table as well if you want to convert it into pandas table. Okay, so that's it about content moderation API. Okay, we're not dealing with number 5 here. This number 5 about the celebrity detection because it's pretty much similar to celebrity recognition here. Feel free to run that if you want. The only thing you need to update here is where you should call it on the image that has no celebrity. Just update it to an image that we have the cast PNGs. Let me just quickly show you guys that just in case you're interested. So here, because we don't have to this image here, the image on serverless Pi, we only have the other. So that one was a movie. If you want to have the, okay, let's do this again. Okay, so I'm not going to show you guys this one because it's pretty much the same as the celebrity recognition here. The only thing that you need to update is this link here. They uh, link it to the serverless pies.png, but we actually don't have that. We have it in the format of a movie. So if you want, just replace this with cars here, and then you can run the whole notebook. Oops. Yep, just like that. Okay, close it. I should shut down the kernel as well. Now let's do the normal number 5 here, which means the text detection. So why we use text detection with Amazon Rekognition? So sometimes you want to detect whether there is any text in the image. Just imagine you go traveling to a new country and then you want to do some translation from some of the trees side there. So this is how they going to deal with that. First of all, they have the text detection on the image and then they do the machine translation on the text later. Okay, now let's just run in this. Let me restart and clear output. Okay, that's good. So just start it out by just calling Rekognition API as usual. Now let's take a look at our image here. Yeah, it has some of the text. It's Monday, but keep smiling. Very encouraging for Monday Blue. Now let's try to call the Rekognition in this image. Now let's display all of the unsafe text. So they detect all of the text here. We have smiling, we have keep, all of the words here. Some of these will have the tag here where it say that okay, it might be unsafe text. So these are depend on the parent ID here, which means different ID on whether it's safe or unsafe text here. Okay, now let's try to draw the bounding box around the text. So this one just to help us detect the box where it had the text. Next one is a little bit more useful than just draw the box like that. So this one you indicate the region of interest, which means like this is the whole image, but you only interest in this small region here to detect it. You can limit the region of interest using the bounding box here. And if you limit it, then the only word you got is damn here. Okay, very similar to other example, we can also use it to detect text in video as well. So we have a couple of different text here, including the name of these guys and also the job title. Then we have some of the text on the AWS chart here and some of the description down here. Now let's call Rekognition on this one. It's going to take a little bit. I'm just hit the one button here. So we can see that their name got detected a couple times. Then their title, senior developer. Now if we're moving on all the way down, we can see where they detect the AWS chat. And this is going to take a long while just for the scrolling. Okay, now we can see some of the text on the AWS chat and on the description on that. So it's a long video, that's why we got a lot of text in there. Now let's just display all of that. Okay, so these are all the appearance of the text. So that's it. It's pretty good to done that on a short video. Now let's just shut down the kernel for this. So I hope that's give you guys a quick understanding of how we can use the Amazon Rekognition service on a couple of different tasks that we might have. Now let's move on to the other AI services of Amazon, the Amazon Comprehense. So Amazon Comprehense will deal mostly with text classification. Here we see that we're going to work on the very classic example of Amazon customer review datasets. In this customer review dataset, we will have all of these fields, including the marketplace here, just the two-letter country code, customer ID, review ID, product parents, product title, category, star rating, all of the vote here, and whether it's a verified purchase or not, the headline of the review, body of the review, and the date of the review. Okay, first thing first, let's download the datasets and then import the CSV in here. So this has about 100,000 data point. Now let's just have the review on that. Now, which means just go into visualize that to review the data sets. So most of the review are 5 star or either 1 star. So this is the common thing on any kind of review, whether the customer really love it or really hate it. And of course, you know that this like imbalance data sets. So we go into perform some of the resample here, trying to balance this out. So after we perform the balance, it's going to cut down only 34,000 data instant here. Okay, so now all of that look more balanced. Now let's just split it into train validation and test set again and see what's going to happen after that. So in this case, we use 90% of the data for training set and only 5% for test and 5% for validation. When we do the chain test split, we can also use the stratify function. So when you call the chain test split from sklearn, you can use stratify here to make sure that when we split it, we still have the balanced number of all of the star rating in the training set, in the test set, and in the validation set. So of course, this is a toy example. That's why we keep everything like this. But in real life, data would never be this way. So don't expect that you can like beautifully justify everything. So now we're going to train a model, use the star rating and review body, which means we only use the text here for the Amazon Comprehense to learn from. We don't use any of the metadata, and we use the star rating as the label for this. We're going to write this one onto a CSV file and put it on S3 so that we can use that for the next step. So the store function is just very helpful to store the variable. You probably see that from previous notebook. I'm just forget to introduce you guys. The store here just going to store all of the variables so we can use in other notebook as well in the same section here. Okay, so now that we prepare the data sets, let's move on to the training. So this is where we're going to train our custom model on Amazon Comprehend. So Amazon Comprehend currently only support in the regions, which including our region, just US is one here. And then we're going to check on the training UI here. Okay, this is good. We got the data sets from previous step. Now let's prepare the training data. We're just moving it into the temporary folder on this cluster here. We import it into a Panda data frame. Now let's try to create a new policy so that we can have the asset home for Comprehend, for us to use Comprehend. And we just use Portal to try to create that policy. And we're going to attach the policy into the home here. Now let's train the model. So we use the home that we just created. And we're going to get the shop name in. Oh, this is going to take a while. Sorry. Yeah, the last time I run this is a lot faster. But basically, this is just trying to prepare the home with the correct policy for us to try to trying to train the model on Amazon Comprehend. Now we're just going to create a new training job with the name here, and then we call the Comprehend to create a new classifier English, not French. Okay, moving on. We're going to call with the name, the training job name here, the asset hole here, and then input data will be this CSV location. Output would be this one. The language that we're going to use is English because it's an English dataset. If you try to use different language, then just update the language here. Okay, so this cell will take about 2 hours to finish. I wouldn't recommend you to sit here and wait for it. Just leave that running. But try to make sure that you refresh this one like before the session time for now. You can review that on the Comprehense training shop here. So this basically redirect us to the console for Amazon Comprehend. You see the job here is submitted. It started at this time here. Going to take 2 hours to finish. Okay, I'm going to pause the video and I will resume it when the training is finished. Hi guys, welcome back. So it's more than 2 hours. Let's check on Comprehend. So if you refresh on Comprehend, you see that, okay, we finished the training. This time it's a little bit faster than previously. It's only 1.5 hours for me to finish the training. So number of the train document, number of test document, number of label. So which means just the review, whether it's 1 star, 2 star, up until 5 star here. Input data location in here, and it's a multi-class classification model. Output data location. Here you can see some of the metrics: accuracy, Hamming loss, precision, recall, macro precision, F1 score, some of the metrics here. Okay, I'll leave this open because we're going to use it to delete later. Okay, moving on, going back to the notebook here. Now we just finished the training. Let's move on to the next step to show the results here. And then just print the model AIN. So this is the AIN of the training shop that we have. Now we want to download the model artifacts into S3. And no, sorry, I was talking random shit again. We download the model from S3 into this notebook. So this is the confusion matrix we have. We can display it in a table for better view. Okay, from this confusion matrix, so most of the case that got wrong is between 1 and 2. So they oftenly mistake whether the the customer review 1 or 2. Very similar, they often mistake whether the customer review 4 or 5 here. Now let's deploy the endpoint for serving the model. This is just to store the ARN and the endpoint ARN. So you can do the endpoint inside here, or you can manually create the endpoint here as well. But because we're using the code in the notebook, so now if you refresh here, you will see the endpoint already in the creating status here. Okay, last notebook of this tutorial. We go into use the endpoint that we created to do some prediction. Again, I'm going to import everything and then I just check on the comprehend AIN before and the endpoint AIN as well. The training AIN and endpoint AINs are looking good. Let's deploy the endpoint. Okay, the thing is I'm clicking this too fast. The endpoint is still, oops, in creating status here. That's why we need to wait for it. Okay, so after about 15 minutes or so, we finally created the endpoint. Let's try some prediction with it. So this sentence here is clearly a 5-star. That's why 5-star got the score of 90% confidence here. And if it's something kind of neutral like this, so 3 or 4 is will be the good guess, but 3 is the one with the highest score here. And then we moving on to this really bad things. This is definitely a 1 or 2-star. Okay, so that should be it on the demo that I have for you guys today. So you guys know how to set up AWS SageMaker Studio with custom IAM role, how to go into setup with the code here with S3 buckets, then using either AWS Rekognition or Comprehense here to apply it on some machine learning problem, let's say like that, and also how to train a really, really long uh, AWS Comprehense model here. So if you want, feel free to play around with this. Just keep in mind that this will cost you about $10 for the training. I would recommend you to read more on the pricing of all of these services before you use it. If you use it on AWS Educate, feel free to use it until you burn out on your account. That should be okay. Okay, thank you all for joining me today. Now let's move on to the boring bit, which means we have to clean up everything. So need to clean up on Comprehense since we inside here. Need to delete the endpoint first before we can delete the whole model. Keeping the model or the endpoint will cost you money as well. Not very much compared to training, but it still costs money. Okay, leaving that there while waiting for us. Let's clean up on SageMaker. So to clean up on SageMaker Studio, first you need to delete the user, end the app in the user first, and then delete the user, then you can delete the studio. So just click on the user here, delete the app. Yes, delete the app, delete. Multi-step verification, just to delete something. Yeah, I'm really impatient, as you can see. I click things multiple times. Oops, still deleting. Okay, we're waiting for that. Let's do the last thing. Not the last thing. Well, I'm going to keep the SageMaker roles. Doesn't need to delete that. But if you want, delete the S3 buckets. If you're not going to use the data again. To delete it, you need to empty it first. I always forget that. Permanently delete, empty, then delete the bucket. Okay, this one is already empty. Just delete this one. Okay, so this still deleting, still deleting. Choo, 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 choo. Okay, finally, delete user. Yes, delete user. Delete this one. Choo, 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 choo. Waiting for that to be deleted again. Okay, it's good. The endpoint is deleted. Just delete this one. That should be it. Okay, after this user is deleted, then you can click on the Delete Studio button. You really don't need to wait until the end of this video with me. I'm going to wait so that I can say that I finished the video without being too impatient. Wow, I can fall asleep on this. Okay, now the user is deleted. Just delete the studio. Yes, delete studio and delete it. That should be it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have time, I still recommend you to follow the quick start workshop here, just up until the pipeline to see the good thing about AWS SageMaker Studio. If you have time, trying to play around with some of these things here. It's going to be fun to learn all of that. I myself have not used all of that because it's too many, but it's always fun to try out new things. Okay, thank you all for joining me in this really long tutorial, a lot of waiting time. And I hope you guys have fun learning all of this. See you in the next tutorial. Bye, guys.